their worries, but they were exploited very soon by those who wanted to exploit the situation to create chaos and destroy the constitution. These demonstrations moved from a civilized expression of practicing freedom of speech to sad confrontations which were organized by political groups who wanted to throw fire on the oil and to threaten the stability and provoke and create looting and destruction and fires, and to block roads and attack national possessions and public and private possessions, and attacks on some diplomatic missions on Egypt. We are living together difficult days, and what hurts our hearts the most, and the fear which has overtaken most Egyptians, and the anxiety which has overtaken them regarding what tomorrow will bring for them and their families, and the future and destiny of their country. The events of the last few days impose on us all, as people and as a leadership, choosing between chaos and stability, and brings in front of us new circumstances and a different Egyptian reality which our people and our army must deal with in the most wise of way in order to protect Egypt's interests and its children. My brothers and sisters, citizens, I have initiated the formation of a new government with new priorities and initiatives which will respond to our young people's demands and their anxieties. And in dialogue with all political forces, we have discussed all the issues that have been raised regarding democratic and political reforms and the constitutional changes which they will require in order to fulfill these legitimate demands and the restoration of stability and security. But there are political forces who have rejected this invitation for dialogue, holding on to their private agendas and without concern for Egypt's situation, and with their rejection for my invitation to dialogue, which is still on. I will directly speak to my people, from its peasants, workers, Muslims and Copts, its old people and its young people, and to all Egyptian men and women in the countryside and in the cities across the land and in all the districts. I never wanted power or prestige, and people know the difficult circumstances in which I shouldered the responsibility and what I have given to the homeland during war and during the peace. I am also a man of the army, and it is not in my nature to give up responsibility. My first responsibility now is to restore the security and stability of the homeland, to achieve a peaceful transition of power in an environment that will protect Egypt and Egyptians, and which will allow for the responsibility to be given to whoever the people will elect in the forthcoming elections. I will say with all honesty and without looking at this particular situation that I was not intent on on standing for the next elections, because I have spent enough time in serving Egypt, and I am now careful to conclude my work for Egypt by presenting Egypt to the next government in a constitutional way which will protect Egypt. I want to say in clear terms that in the next few months that are remaining of my current reign, I will work very hard to carry out all the necessary measures to transfer power to the authorized, legitimate. The constitutional items 77 and 76 should be changed according to allow very specific periods for presidency, and in order for the parliament to be able to discuss these constitutional changes and the legislative changes which of the laws linked to the constitution, and in order to guarantee that all political powers will contribute to these discussions, I ask of the parliament to commit to speed up the elections. I will pursue the transfer of power in a way that will fulfill the people's demands, and that this new government will fulfill the people's demands and their hopes for political, economic and social progress, and for the provision of employment opportunities and fighting poverty and achieving social justice. And in this context, I want to ask the police to carry out their role in protecting the citizens honestly and to respect their rights and freedoms and their dignity. I also want to ask censorship authorities and legislative authorities to carry out immediately every measure to pursue those who are corrupt and those who have been responsible for what has happened, of all the destructive acts and looting and fires that have taken place in Egypt. This is my promise for the people during the next few months that remain of my current leadership. I ask of God that He will help me to do my job in a way that will be satisfactory to God and to my homeland and its people. Egypt will come out of these difficult circumstances stronger than it used to be before, more confident, more united and more stable. Our people will become much more aware of its own self-interest and more careful not to sacrifice its destiny and its stability. Hosni Mubarak, who's speaking to you today, is proud of all the long years he spent in the service of people of Egypt. This dear country is my country, just like it is the homeland of every Egyptian man and woman. I have lived in this country, I have fought for it, I have defended its sovereignty and interest, and I will die on its land, and history will judge me and others. The homeland will remain, and people will disappear, and Egypt will always remain, and its flag will always be high. And it is our duty to achieve this with dignity and honor. generation after generation. May God protect this homeland and its people, and peace be upon you, and God's mercy and blessings.
And there you have it, the Egyptian president, Hosni Mubarak, saying pretty much what we expected him to say, that he will not be standing again to be president of Egypt at the next elections in September.